This episode is brought to you by Progressive Insurance. Do you ever think about switching insurance companies to see if you could save some cash? Progressive makes it easy. Just drop in some details about yourself and see if you're eligible to save money when you bundle your home and auto policies. The process only takes minutes, and it could mean hundreds more in your pocket. Visit Progressive.com after this episode to see if you could save. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. Potential savings will vary. Not available in all states.
K-pop Demon Hunters Haja Boys breakfast meal and Huntrix meal have just dropped at McDonald's. They're calling this a battle for the fans. What do you say to that, Rumi?
It's not a battle. So glad the Saja Boys could take breakfast and give our meal the rest of the day.
It is an honor to share.
No, it's our honor.
It is our larger honor.
No, really. Stop.
You can really feel the respect in this battle. Pick a meal to pick a side.
Ba-da-ba-ba-ba. At participating McDonald's while supplies last.
Hello?
Honey, I'm at the mall now and I found this beautiful leather coat. It's only $1,000. Can I get it?
Well, sure, if you like it that much.
Okay, I also stopped by the Mercedes dealership and saw the new model. You know, the one I really like.
How much?
120.
Well, at that price, I want it with all the options.
Great! Oh, and one more thing. The house we wanted last year is back on the market. They're asking 1.5.
We'll make them an offer. But come in at 1.4.
Okay. I love you, baby.
I love you too.
Okay, bye.
Does anybody know whose phone this is?
Live from Joe's mom's basement, it's the Stacking Benjamin Show. I'm Joe's mom's neighbor, Doug, and on today's show, the stock market is sky high and it's summertime. What could be better? How about an 8% rate of return on your money without being in the stock market at all? Too good to be true? We're going to talk all things bonds on today's podcast. Plus, get ready for a TikTok minute to remember, and we'll answer a question from one stacker who thought, you know what, I'd better call Saul. See hi and OG. And then I'll share some penned trivia. And now, a guy who gets all the credit for stacking Benjamins and the guy who's the brains behind the scenes. Gonna let you decide who's who. It's Joe and O-J-J-J-J-G.
Happy Wednesday, stackers. And you know what? On a week like this, I bet you're exhausted that it's Wednesday. I mean, OG, they had Monday off. I always find these 4-day work weeks. I get to Wednesday, I'm like, why am I still working?
Wait, you guys are working on Fridays?
Like, what?
3-day work week, brah. Get with the times. It's summer. Summer.
So wait, so it means for you that it's usually a 3-day work week, or this week is a 3-day work week?
Correct.
On both accounts.
He's lying through his teeth. He hasn't worked any days.
Yeah, that's right.
Well, there's that.
Welcome to the Life of OG podcast, Life with Your Feet Up. We got a super show today. We're going to dive into a headline all about bonds, just because I want to see that vein in OG's forehead get really big. Like, that would be absolutely super. So if you're not familiar with how bonds work, and if you've never seen vitriol in action, you're about to get both on the same podcast today. But before that, to make sure that we keep this podcast free, we partnered with some fantastic sponsors so that you don't have to pay for it. And the good news is it also, as always, keeps the second half of this show ad-free. So let's take a moment and dive into our sponsors.
In business, there is no room for guesswork. Every shipment matters. Every deadline counts. And when you're trying to keep operations running smoothly, the last thing you need is uncertainty. That's why reliability is at the core of USPS Ground Advantage. From the moment your package is first scanned in, it moves through a secure nationwide network, aiding in a timely and accurate delivery. You get near real-time tracking so you can keep up with your shipments. And with affordable upfront pricing, there are no hidden fees or surprise surcharges to throw off your cost sheets. It all adds up to predictable deliveries you can depend on, because knowing your logistics are handled lets you focus on everything else, your customers, your team, and the future you're building. Visit USPS.com/Ground Advantage to start shipping with confidence. USPS Ground Advantage. We mean business. I had a breakfast mentoring meeting yesterday with a young woman who was just amazing. She is graduating from college with a degree in wealth management, and she reached out hoping for some pointers. And listen, if somebody's in Texarkana and wants to go into this beautiful field of personal finance and helping people get their money together, that is incredible. But even more incredible is how she reached out, how she was trying to network. And I was having a discussion that finding the right person and avoiding the wrong person for a role, that's what can make or break an organization. And we just don't see that many qualified people. So how do you find them? Well, Indeed sponsored jobs is a boost whenever you need to find quality talent. If you're hiring, Indeed is all you need. You can stop struggling to get your job post even seen on other sites. You'll match with quality candidates with Indeed's sponsored jobs. Get matched with and hire quality candidates who can drive the results you need. Reach candidates who meet your specific criteria like skills, certifications, or location. It drives me crazy when I'm matched with all kinds of people who aren't a fit. I don't have that kind of time. People are finding quality hires on Indeed right now. In the minute I've been talking to you, companies like yours made 27 hires on Indeed, according to Indeed data worldwide. Sponsored jobs posted directly on Indeed are 95% more likely to report a hire than non-sponsored jobs. Spend less time searching and more time actually interviewing candidates who check all the boxes. Less stress, less time, more results. When you need the right person to cut through the chaos, this is a job for Indeed sponsored job. And here's what's cool, stackers. You're going to get $75 in sponsored job credit to help get your job the premium status it deserves at Indeed.com/podcast. Just go to Indeed.com/podcast right now and support Stacking Benjamins by saying you heard about Indeed right here at Stacking Benjamins. Indeed.com/podcast. Terms and conditions apply. Hiring, do it the right way with Indeed.
Big headline today, TikTok minute and more. So let's get moving.
Hello, darlings. And now it's time for your favorite part of the show, our Stacking Benjamin's headlines.
Our headline comes to us from the Wall Street Journal. This is written by Vicky G. Wang. And Vicky writes, risky bonds join the everything rally. And there is a picture of an investor with a nice tie on, and they have a balloon and they've got hearts and they are flying sky high because of, wait for it, the bond market. If the U.S. economy is headed for trouble, Vicky says, no one told the junk bond market, the premium that investors demand to hold debt from sub-investment grade companies instead of relatively safe treasuries has shrunk to near pandemic era lows, a sign of dwindling worries about an economic slowdown that would cause a big jump in defaults and bankruptcies. Low-rated debt's been swept up in a broad market rally fueled by signs of cooling inflation, hopes for interest rate cuts, attracted by yields. Listen to these yields, guys. Attracted by yields of around 8%. Investors have added a net $3.7 billion into junk bond funds so far this year, according to Refinitiv Lipper, the first inflows in that period since 2020. So investors now, OG, getting back into the junk bond market. I think we got to define how this works for people because most of our stackers not that familiar with the bond market. So I want to talk about this first. Let's define what a bond is, how it works, difference between buying a bond and buying a bond fund. And then let's end off with why OG still thinks this might be a bad idea. All right.
Do you guys remember the movie, I think it was Wedding Singer? The Adam Sandler movie?
Okay. Adam Sandler, sure. Drew Barrymore.
90s-ish.
Yeah.
There's a scene in there where he's talking about, and I don't know if it's the friend, somebody getting married. I don't know what the whole storyline is. I can't remember. But he talks to somebody and he's like, oh, so you're in junk bonds. He goes, excuse me, high yield bonds?
It is almost like, what's the radio company that changed their name? iHeartMedia. iHeartMedia used to be Clear Channel, and they changed their name 100% because people hated Clear Channel so much. I think junk bond people, OG, said, hey, this
high
junk
yield.
bond thing.
Low grade? I don't like that. Low quality? No. Yes, high yield.
OG, how do I get 8% in a bond? Tell me how I'm getting 8% on a bond.
Right. The difference between a bond and a stock is really around, are you owning the company or are you lending money to the company? Those are the two ways that you can basically invest, so to speak, in an organization. And sometimes that organization is the US Treasury and you buy Treasury bonds. And sometimes it's Apple and you can buy Apple bonds or you can buy Apple stock, right? So investors have to decide whether or not they want to own the company or they want to lend money to the company. The risk return of both of those things are completely different. Think of it this way. If you borrow money from the bank, if the bank lends you money, they only generally do so if they have what?
Money to lend?
Collateral. Yes.
Collateral.
Correct. So exactly. I knew you had it.
That's exactly what I was saying.
So the difference between you getting a mortgage at 4% or today's rates, 7, let's say, and borrowing money on your credit card, which is completely unsecured, is 22, 23%, right? So there's a difference in risk profile with that type of debt. And the reason that it's different is because it's secured by different things. So now look at the difference between the United States Treasury, which can tax you into oblivion and always can raise money, versus insert company here that has, whatever their balance sheet looks like and so on and so forth. US Treasury lends money and you are guaranteed to get that money back by the US government. And the day that they stop doing that would be a really bad day for the worldwide economy, right? So we're pretty confident in the US government. We're maybe not so confident in the ice cream shop down the street. And so to lend money to those two different institutions, the government or to the ice cream shop, you get a better return if you're lending money to a riskier place. And so a junk bond or high yield bond, if you look at it and say, well, why is this one paying 8 and the Treasury is paying 4? It's because one's riskier than the other. There's a bigger chance that you're not going to get your money back on this one than the other one. It's just purely that simple.
Yeah, it is all about the, like when people loan you money, OG, it's like they look at your credit ratings, right?
It's a complete crapshoot. You have no idea whether or not you're going to get your money back if you lend it to me.
But what if the ice cream's really good?
Yeah. Well, no, that's a good
just
point.
Buy the product. Don't loan the money for the factory, right? Well, I don't know if I'm mixing the analogy.
Yeah, Doug's kind of being a little tongue in cheek. Ice cream in cheek? I don't know. Anyways, a little bit of like, well, what happens if it's really good? Well, guess what? Then that would show up in your profitability of the company. If it's a really good ice cream company, you're going to make more money, which means you have better reserves and you have a better balance sheet. So now the cost of you borrowing money is going to go down because you're a more proven entity, right? Versus the new place down the street. But then you look at the hierarchy of those things. If I lent money to an organization, it's sometimes secured by the good faith and credit of the organization. Sometimes it's secured by the property. Sometimes it's secured by the manufacturing equipment, whatever, right? There's some sort of thing that I can go, you don't pay your bill, you don't pay your loan back. I can go take a tractor, instead or whatever, versus owning the company or investing in the company. Where do you fall? If you're an investor, where do you fall if the company goes out of business? Are you at the top of the food chain to get paid out or at the bottom? You're at the bottom if you're an investor.
Yeah.
You're dead last, right? You are the last person to get paid out because you have the biggest opportunity for growth. There's the two sides of that equation. If you lend money to somebody or you lend money to an organization, you're higher up the food chain in terms of if this thing goes belly up, you're more likely to get paid out versus being an investor in the company goes belly up. You're not going to get anything, probably, but you're also more likely to make money if it does well. So you got the guarantee on one side versus non-guaranteed better return potential on the other side. And that's owning the company or, owning shares of the company versus lending to the company, which is on the fixed income side.
Yeah, I think if you don't look at this too closely, OG, it looks like it could be a very good opportunity because if I can get 8% loaning one of these risky companies money and they don't go under, I'm guaranteed, as long as they don't go under and they repay their bill, I'm guaranteed 8%.
Yeah.
If I invest in the company and they don't do much, they do enough to stay alive, but they don't really knock the ball out of the park, well, then I might not make any money. However, if they knock the ball out of the park, I could make a ton of money. So clearly the risk reward profile has narrowed. The problem, I think, is that if the company does go bankrupt and the risk is so high, I'm not really being 8% is not a lot to be paid for the risk that I'm taking. in the big scheme of things, I'm still taking a ton of risk by loaning these companies with a bad track record of debt problems and negative cash flow in many cases. I'm still looking at a lot of trouble for what, in the big scheme of things, is not a high paycheck for that trouble.
Yeah, considering you get 10% in the S&P historically, getting 8 doesn't sound like that good of a deal, even though the 8 is quote unquote guaranteed. You kind of hit the nail on the head here. At the end of the day, I think that most people, if they look at their investments and say, okay, I need to be 70% stock and 30% fixed income, 30% bonds. How do we search for what things to pick? We just generally click on best return. Or if you're looking at the fixed income side or the bond side, you're going to click on the yield and go, oh, well, this stuff's paying 8%.
All junk bonds all the time.
Yeah, this other crap's paying 5%. I'll get the 8% deal. I'm going to put my money there. What's the major difference between 8 and 5? The difference is the likelihood of getting paid back. Now, if you make the decision based on your risk tolerance that, hey, I want to take a little bit extra risk on this and that fits in my risk profile, then you know what you're getting yourself into. But most people don't. They just search by highest yield and take it. I see this channel on Reddit all the time. It's not a channel. What's it called on Reddit?
Group.
Thread?
Group.
Sub.
A sub?
Subreddit.
Sub or subreddit.
It's about investing in dividends. And like everybody's trying to get one up somebody else's dividend rate. Like, I found a stock that's paying 15%. I found a stock that's paying 30%. It's like, what do you think's happening here? Like you magically found the one company that earns a bunch of money and pays a bunch of money out. Apple doesn't pay high dividend, but yet they're a really good company. Why is that? Because they take their profits and reinvest it in the company. If you're paying out all of your cash as a dividend, what does that tell you? Nothing's really happening here. We're not really investing into this organization very much to grow to the next thing. So again, if you're just searching by yield or searching by dividend or whatever, I think you're doing yourself a disservice because you're going to be lulled into the higher number, not knowing the risk profile of what that is.
With dividends, there are some outliers. I know if you invest in pipelines, like they're not growing that pipeline anymore, so that's going to throw off a monster dividend, or a container ship, you're going to have monster dividends. But of course, those things get older and that opens up a whole different can of worms. The big thing here, OG, for me is if you do high yield bonds, you decide that this is a good place to go, I think then you're going to do exactly what Vicky here in this piece says, which is that people have added $3.7 billion into junk bond funds. And I think that if you're going to go into junk bonds and you're going to try to lock down this 8% number, you've got to lock down an individual bond. Because the second that you go into a junk bond fund, now you're at the whim of, as interest rates change over time, like this profile we have today is not going to stay the same. And because they're not holding any of these bonds until maturity to grab that 8% and lock it down, well, then bond prices are just going to go crazy either way. You're going to get all the volatility, or damn near close to the volatility of the stock market, and not have a lot to show for that volatility.
Well, and that's why when you look at building an investment portfolio, the thing that you want to look at is correlation. Like, how likely is this asset class to move with other asset classes that you already have? And the idea is to have things that move independently of one another. If you look at, for example, the Russell 3000 index, which is the 3,000 biggest companies, and the S&P 500, you'd not be surprised to find out that they have a very high correlation. If you invest in one and invest in the other, you're kind of getting the same thing. You're not really diversified by that. But if, for example, you say, well, I have the Russell 3000 and maybe the international stock fund, those things will be somewhat correlated, but not exactly moving lockstep. What you'd find if you looked at the correlation between junk bonds and the US stock market, they're highly correlated, which makes sense because as the economy does better, and the overall stock market does better, then the risk of default from crappy companies goes down because all ships rise in high tide. So the fun Warren Buffett quote, you don't get to see who's naked until the tide rolls out. That's what happens on the other side of the economy. So when the stock market goes down, when the economy is weaker, the companies on the fringe, to your point before, Joe, that were like just hanging on, they go by the wayside and we start seeing lots and lots and lots of defaults. So as the economy is strong right now and the stock market is doing well, we're not seeing the risk profile of junk bonds because it moves very similarly to the overall market.
I think that is, for me, the biggest key. Don't get me wrong, I've invested in junk bonds and in junk bond funds before, But I think that you certainly got to know what you're getting into with this asset class, because I think that a lot of people will read this, I can get 8%, and they go to a junk bond fund, and that 8% doesn't stay around, and they experience the volatility that you wouldn't have if you have an individual bond. But if you buy the individual bond, you're subjecting yourself to the risk of that company going bankrupt. Like there's some minefield here that I think that people need to understand, which is why I'm glad you were able to go there today. Certainly with interest rates where they are today and the economy where they are today, I mean, that clearly spells good things here. But for your point, that's also, I would think there's a direct correlation, OG, to these yields being high. It's the same reason why we're seeing highs in the stock market right now.
Yeah. I mean, that and the interest rate market is the way the interest rate market is, right? So that has an effect, obviously, too.
We will dive more into this in the 201 if you're interested in how bonds work and why we often talk about minimizing the number of bonds you have in your portfolio. Kevin Bailey, who used to work for Vanguard and for TIA, now writes our marvelous newsletter, the 201. He'll help you dive deeper into these so you can get even more definitions, more background for people that want to read more. StackingBenjamins.com/201 is how you sign up. Hey, it's time for our TikTok Minute. This is the part of the show where we shine a light on a TikTok creator who either is brilliant, sharing brilliance of the world, or air quotes brilliance. OG, you think we got brilliance, or you think we got some air quotes brilliance?
TikTok is the devil all day, every day. So
it's funny, Doug, how he can change on this.
Yeah.
A couple of weeks ago, he was all about, this is going to be good.
It kind of depends on what he had for breakfast.
No, I don't.
Kind of depends on, what was the thing you were having for breakfast on Monday, OG? The flapjacks?
Cake.
Yes. It totally, Doug, looked like he had a pint of Haagen-Dazs he was eating for breakfast.
Yeah. There's those Kodiak power cakes or something like that.
Very healthy.
Yes. That's what Cheryl calls me, the power cake.
It's really a Reese's peanut butter cake.
It's Reese's. There's no long E at the end.
That's why I said it.
And it's insurance, by the way, Doug.
Yeah.
Yes. Is it the devil? Well, let's see. This gentleman is telling his audience that English is a second language. And if we just went through this discussion about bonds and you were struggling to hang on to the discussion and not sure about all the terms we talked about, imagine the broader picture. Not only are you an investor, you're just trying to get by day to day.
And English is still hard for me. I keep learning new words. I have to look up words almost every day. And I learned this word that I didn't know about until recently, and now it's my favorite word here. It's the best word you have. I love it. You must know this. The meaning of the word, it means that you have now poured enough coffee into my cup. And it goes like...
I think that is the word. And I was thinking about, we have similar words in investing and here in the basement. Like as an example, Doug's investment in Rivian, we just wah-wah. Like wah-wah is a word, right? Wah-wah.
Yeah.
My investment in Lumen going the same way. I can't learn from Doug's mistake.
You should just buy more to dollar cost average lower.
Yes.
To dollar cost average out of all my money.
Yes, exactly.
See, as you're exiting, make sure there's nothing left so you don't care anymore.
A little dip on a day when it surprised you, you go, oh.
Very popular in the Midwest, Doug. Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah. And what's another one? Like, kapow or booyah. Things go well.
Suck it. Is that one?
That's
when you have a big success.
Oh, is that what that is?
Yeah. Like when my Rivian skyrockets. Guarantee you I'm saying that word.
I did say that, by the way. I happened to write that to my friend Mike, who I was betting on the Dallas-Detroit game that didn't go my way when I was watching the game at Jerry's house. Detroit scored.
He reported.
Detroit scored early on, and I literally wrote, suck it. And Mike wrote me back and said, I think it's too early for suck it. I think it's the first quarter. I'm like, well, hey, we're just hanging tough. And that didn't work out in my favor. So yeah, you got to watch out when you got to watch out when you use that terminology. Got to make sure that it's going to stick. All right. Coming up, we got a stacker that said, I better call Saul, see hi and OG. But before that, Doug, I think you have speaking of Rivian, you have some riveting trivia for us, don't you? Riveting.
Darn tootin' I do there, Joel. Hey there, stackers. I'm Joe's mom's neighbor, Doug. On this day in 1943, Bing Crosby recorded White Christmas. For those of you who complain when Target starts playing Christmas music before Halloween, just be grateful they don't start in June like they did in the 40s. That's too early even for me, and White Christmas is my go-to karaoke song. I'd never publicly take credit, but I'm fairly certain my serenading women all year round with the song has contributed to it having sold over 50 million units worldwide. Not only did Bing sing the title song, but he also starred in the movie White Christmas, which was the second highest grossing film of 1954, taking in an impressive $12 million, or, that's like $12 billion in today's economy. I can't take credit for any of the box office sales, but I bet Joe saw it in theaters that year at least once. It must have been exciting to see after years of staring at the radio, listening to Roosevelt's fireside chats, huh, Joe? Today's trivia question is, who wrote White Christmas? I'll be back right after I find my tap shoes.
This episode is brought to you by Progressive Insurance. Do you ever think about switching insurance companies to see if you could save some cash? Progressive makes it easy. Just drop in some details about yourself and see if you're eligible to save money when you bundle your home and auto policies. The process only takes minutes, and it could mean hundreds more in your pocket. Visit Progressive.com after this episode to see if you could save. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. Potential savings will vary. Not available in all states.
You didn't start a business just to keep the lights on. You're here to sell more today than yesterday. You're here to win. Lucky for you, Shopify built the best converting checkout on the planet. Like the just one tapping, ridiculously fast acting, sky-high sales stacking, champion of checkouts. That's the good stuff right there. So if your business is in it to win it, win with Shopify. Start your free trial today at shopify.com/win.
Did you know Fast Growing Trees is America's largest and most trusted online nursery with thousands of trees and plants and over 2 million happy customers? Whether you're planting fruit trees, adding privacy, brightening things up with flowers, or bringing in houseplants, Fast Growing Trees has it all. Even better, they can help you find options that are right for your climate, your space, and lifestyle. Click Order Grow. Every plant arrives healthy with the Alive and Thrive guarantee straight to your door. So if you're ready to get planting, this is the moment. Right now, they have great deals on spring planting essentials, up to half off on select plants. And listeners to our show get 20% off their first purchase when using the code WWO at checkout. That's an additional 20% off. Better plants and better growing at fastgrowingtrees.com using the code WWO at checkout. Fastgrowingtrees.com, code WWO. Now's the perfect time to plant. Let's grow together. Use WWO to save today. Offer is valid for a limited time. Terms and conditions apply. Go to growingfasttrees.com for details.
Hey there, stackers. I'm crooner and cutest member of the Stacking Benjamins boy band, Joe's mom's neighbor, Doug. After White Christmas wrapped filming, producers learned that the King and Queen of Denmark were visiting the set. Wanting to impress them, the producers had the cast perform the final scene in front of a studio audience, leading the royals to believe they had sat in on the actual filming. Today's trivia question was, who wrote the song White Christmas? I'm dreaming. Anyway, the answer, ironically written by a Jewish immigrant, the song's author, Irving Berlin, claimed it not only to be his best work, but like the best song ever in the history of all of the universe and the expanding planets and ever written. That's how confident Irving was in his Christmas song. If it weren't for hair metal bands, I'd agree. And now, back to Joe and OG.
He isn't the only Jewish person, Doug, who's written some phenomenal
how about Mel Torme?
Christmas carol music. Yeah. How about Doug's favorite Christmas album is the Barry Manilow Christmas album.
That dude will put you in a holiday spirit faster than any goyim I know.
Neil Diamond.
I
mean, just cranking out.
How is it that they can create the feels for our holiday and they don't even celebrate it? They can just get you all warm and cozy and wanting to buy gifts for everybody.
That's what a small world it is. I mean, people helping
we're all
people. right there.
At our core, we're all humans and we just want love.
That is, so Doug is going to do the world a favor and he's going to croon dreidel, 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 make a record on Stacky Benjamin's Records next holiday season. You heard it here first.
I'll do it. I don't even need a reason. I'll do it.
And I love how humble Irving Berlin was about that too, Doug.
He was nothing if not humble. He was kind of a withdrawn personality, wasn't he? He really didn't put himself out there that much.
It isn't just the best thing I've done. Just saying. By the way, this podcast isn't just the best podcast we've done. Very well might be the best podcast ever. Hey, speaking of that, we got the best segment ever up next. Time to shine a light on one stacker who said, you know what, we better call Saul. See how you know OG, that is. This is where we ask OG a question that a stacker either sent us or mailed us, or in this case, they shared with the Stacky Benjamin's basement. You know what? From time to time, and in this episode, we got a little nerdy in the first part, but talking about high yield bonds and how those work, how bonds in general work, but also about how high yield works, about analyzing credit. I want to continue the nerdiness here in the second half because I think it also shines a light on just how deep your knowledge can go. And there's still more to know. And certainly I don't want to scare people and go, oh, you got to know all this stuff. But there's always something else around the corner. And Tom asked this question, which I thought was pretty hard hitting, OG. Tom said, when not to avoid IRMAA. So he starts off making it super easy with an acronym that I think a lot of people don't even know what the hell that is. We'll get there in a second. He says, my mother is approaching RMDs. There's another one. Tells an RMD. She currently has several streams of post-retirement income and is not hitting the IRMAA cliffs. When the RMDs start, she will. Does it ever make sense to take distributions early, even if you will have extra Medicare cost? My thinking is to take advantage of lower tax brackets now and reduce future RMDs a bit. She's utilized Roth conversions in the past. There's another one. To use up the gap between income and the IRMAA cliff. And he asked for help. He got a little bit of help in the basement. I think his question goes over a lot of our stackers' heads, which is why I thought it's about time to bring this kind of thing to the CFP because I think we can at least try to bridge. What the hell is Tom talking about here?
If she's got, here's one thing I know when I just deciphered all of it. If she's got RMDs now, she was a little bit promiscuous at the sock hop back in the day.
Got to watch out for that.
Grandma let those skirts fly high.
There might be a cream for that, Tom. We're going to check and see. OG, what the hell what's he trying to do? What's Tom trying to do here?
Who's Irma? Who's Irma and why does it matter? And why does it matter with Doug's mom? Here's the thing. Basically, there is a limit to the benevolency of the U.S. government.
No, say it ain't so.
Come on.
Who knew?
Shut your mouth.
When we get to this retirement time and there's a lot of moving parts and a lot of moving pieces that are going on when it comes to retirement. You've got your required distributions, which have changed over the last 5 years from 70.5 to 73. They're changing to 75. There were some years in there where they weren't required because everybody was sick. So F it. You don't need any money, apparently. We don't need to tax you on it. I don't know the logic behind that, but whatever. There used to be lots of tax bills associated with that. If you screwed it up, they went, we're just going to change that too. So there's a lot of stuff going on with the IRA world of you've saved money and now the IRS is saying you have deferred the taxes long enough. It is time for you to start paying income taxes. You don't have to consume the money. You don't have to, if your required distribution this year is 10 grand, you don't have to go spend 10,000 in the economy, but we're going to tax you as if you earn $10,000 and you're going to pay us that tax money. What you do with the money is up to you. So you've got that going on. The other thing that happens as you approach retirement is this transition from generally private insurance of some kind, workplace, included, or the ACA plan that you might have or whatever, to Medicare. And Medicare happens at age 65. And you have some very, very, very strict rules around how old you have to be to register, how old you have to be to get it, what happens if you don't register, if you say,
boy, don't miss that deadline.
Yeah, no, these are like one shot, one kill type opportunities. You do not have a second chance. If you do not sign up when you're supposed to, you are screwed for life. Literally, they just jack your premiums way up and go, tough. That's how it is.
forever.
So Medicare is priced based on your income. And for a lot of Americans, it's very inexpensive or no cost whatsoever. And usually Medicare is paid for out of your Social Security benefits. So third area of complexity as you approach retirement is, when the heck do I turn that stream of income on? I've got pensions, I've got Social Security, I've got my 401k, I've got my Roth IRAs and brokerage accounts. And when do, I get a spouse maybe. So how do I optimize that? But when you get your Medicare expenses, that is usually paid for as part of your Social Security check. That's just kind of how the premium's paid. But if you make too much money, then they charge you more money for Medicare. I mean, that's basically what it is. They just go, look, you have enough money. You don't have to have a lot of this paid for on your behalf. And just like you have income tax brackets, you have these Medicare premium brackets, IRMA, with two A's, IRMA, And basically, depending on how your income was now this is the other screwy part, 2 years ago. So depending on what your income was 2 years ago, will depend on the excess cost that you're going to pay for your Medicare premiums, whether it's just Medicare and or the prescription benefit, Part D, 2 years from now. So you had something happen in 2022. 2024 is when you get the adjustment on your Social Security check or on your Medicare premiums, which effectively affects your Social Security check. And so there's this big disconnect between when the thing happened and when you actually have to pay the penalty for it or pay because of it, I guess. Maybe not a penalty per se, but pay the piper, basically. So you have to be aware of what those numbers are too, which is just another whole different bracket of stuff. It's not lined up with tax brackets or any of those sorts of things. So with IRMA, as it relates to Medicare, there are 5 different brackets. As your income passes through those, you get a little extra surcharge on your Medicare. And it's a pretty big number too. I mean, it can be as much as an extra $420 a person for Medicare, and sometimes Medicare is maybe $100, $120 a person normally. And so it could go as high as $600 a month per person. That's a pretty big change if you weren't expecting it, right? So imagine your Medicare premiums were $200 and now they're $1,200. That's a pretty big change. So what Tom's looking at here is he's saying, well, wait a second. Mom's got Social Security. Mom's got a pension, maybe from work. And I can see into the future, right? I can do the math on her IRA and I can look at the chart and go, wait a second, if her IRA is worth this, when she's 73, she's going to have to take out that. And now that's going to kick her above this other limit, not only a different tax bracket, which is a whole separate thing, but now it's going to also affect her Medicare premium. Holy crap. How do we balance all this out and how do we plan for it? And the answer is, you have to plan for it. You have to think about this stuff long in advance because it's hard to solve when you're 71 and go, oh crap, what do I do? Because you only have 2 years to solve this problem. When you're 57, you can start thinking about it. You've got, 15 years to solve it. And then because of the fact that it's a 2-year delay, a lot of times the thing happens, right? You have a big bonus or a big RMD, or you do a once in a lifetime trip. You go, all right, I'm going to take a big amount of money. I'm going to do a big Roth conversion, right? I'm going to convert $100,000, go team. And then 2 years later, you get a letter that says, oh, by the way, your Medicare premium is now this. And you're like, wait,
you're bad.
Why? What? Wait, hold on. Why? So you do have to think about those things, and you have to think about those things years and years and years in advance to make sure that you're doing as best as you can to, make the right decisions, I guess.
I love this idea of modeling, not just for this, right? But just for the idea of, people take a look at their retirement income streams. And by the way, if you're 25 and you're listening to this, I don't think you have to worry about any of this. Just save money. Just save money. But I think if you're 50 years old, 55 years old, I think you want to look at when you take a dollar out. If you've got big expenses, these one-time purchases, you want to buy a second home or you want to move or you want to buy an RV or whatever the thing is, if you're going to have these blips in your income stream, modeling that out ahead of time and modeling the way Tom can pay these huge dividends, OG. It isn't just about, people like how much money you want to live on every year. It isn't just about that. It's also about if I've got these big bumps in the road where I know things are going to change, I want to model that out too.
To his point, if you had a 10-year, 12-year track of being able to plan for it, you could basically be converting IRA money to Roth or be withdrawing money to build up that brokerage account outside of the whole IRA world altogether. You've got a big expense in 2025. Maybe you do half of the expense in 24, half of the expense in 25, a third in 24, a third in 25, a third in 26, carry some debt, because the debt interest payment would be better than having, a higher Medicare payment in 2028 when all
Isn't
this
that
settles
wild,
out.
by the way? It's wild that the interest on the debt is less.
Could be,
right?
Depending on how much it is.
Yeah, but modeling it and thinking that might happen.
Yeah.
Might change everything.
And using your example, hey, I want to buy an RV. It's $200,000. A lot of people just go, cool, hit the account minus 200, off we go. Well, you pay the piper for that if you're over 65, but you don't pay it today. It's not like it hits you right away. And that's the other major struggle with this is you forget that happened. You get settled into a cash flow, and now all of a sudden your cash flow is adjusted by $1,000 a month or $800 a month or something if you're a couple. And that's a pretty big, think of $800 a month cash flow difference, $10,000 a year. I think all of us would have a pretty big, our breath taken away, I should say, if all of a sudden you had $10,000 less dollars this year to spend. That's pretty meaningful. So
for people wondering this
whole
whole
time,
time,
retirement planning, right?
I know.
I love
wish
it.
it were complicated.
This is good stuff. Yeah, no, this is good stuff. This is
absolutely.
Great question. Yeah.
Yes. And it's not the type of thing, if you're brand new to this, you need to know today, but knowing that things like this are coming up is exactly why I wanted to do this segment today. And for people wondering right now what IRMA actually stands for, they're yelling at their device. Well, what does it mean? It's income related monthly adjustment amount, IRMA, which is, as OG explained, it's income related. You need to know exactly how the income's coming in. Then there's going to be a monthly adjustment on your Medicare, depending on exactly how much you took out 2 years ago. And RMDs is your required minimum distributions. There's been some changes in required minimum distributions a couple of years ago. When do people have to take required minimum distributions now?
Well, this year it's the year after it's April. The technicality is April 1st following the year in which you turned 73. Most people take it the year they turn 73, which is allowable also. But your first RMD has to be by April 1st, the year after you turn 73. And that's changing over the next half a decade to be 75. So there's different,
it's staggered.
Staggered as time goes on.
And to Tom's point, while it may look like taking that as late as possible, like a deferred tax is a better tax, a lot of the time, yes. But in this case, you could end up paying some penalties in other areas like Medicare if you do this, which is what Tom's trying to avoid. So he does.
Yeah, there's that taxes. There's extra Medicare tax. If you make too much money, you pay a higher Medicare tax normally. So you can double dip there. There's extra capital gains taxes and all those sorts of fun things depending on how your income is. So, this is a whole section of financial planning is tax management. And unfortunately, I don't think that a lot of CPAs and a lot of tax preparers spend a lot of time on it because they're overwhelmed during the year of actually putting numbers from last year on a piece of paper so they can send to the IRS. There's not a lot of thought given to planning for next year, let alone planning for the next 10 or 15 or 20 years potentially. A lot of unknowns there, obviously.
And certainly it's not something, it is something that you model, but this is why we call it planning and not a plan, because as things change, you continue to roll with it. Super exciting. Tom, thanks for asking that question in the basement. I was like, you know what, Tom, this was one that definitely should have come to the show. If you've got a question, whether it's really, really nerdy like Tom's, or it's just a question that you think, this might be a dumb question. I'll tell you that the number of
probably
times
is. Oh.
The number of times somebody has said, I think it's a dumb question. I'm like, nope, this is what everybody asks me all the time is every time.
Doesn't
I
make
swear
it not
somebody...
a dumb question.
Head to Stack. You're not helping our case here. OG.
Sorry. Okay.
StackingBenjamins.com/voicemail. And you can ask your question because different than OG, I think that question probably is one somebody else is thinking about too. And we'd love to help you answer it. And by the way, if your question is complex like Tom is, or you're somebody that's like, you know what, it's not just about requirement distributions. I don't even know what my retirement plan is. Well, G and his team are taking clients, and to head to his calendar to schedule a first meeting, head to stackingbenjamins.com/OG, and that will lead you to his calendar so you can schedule that first meeting and find out how they can interface with you to make better decisions around retirement or whatever the goals are that you're trying to dovetail. All right. On to a segment we call the back porch. This is the part of the show that we love to end with because, man, we always have a potpourri of topics. Doug, what's on the docket today?
Hey, I want to talk about, we're giving away, what did I hear? We're giving away free passes to like city parks and county
so
parks.
Cool. Yeah, with Robert Niles on last week. We announced this last week in the Basement Facebook group and on our social media channels. If you're not on those, you're hearing it. You heard it Monday. You're hearing it today. We are going to take this excitement that Robert Niles talked about, these regional theme parks, these places, and we will buy you a summer pass. We're going to buy that for one lucky stacker. And you know what? There's some of our stackers who just aren't into that. They're like, nope, don't really care about that. In fact, we have one stacker, James, who said, he's like, you know what? I'm not in the theme park thing, but I love the fact that this is the introduction to summer and it makes me excited to go out to, my local state park.
And just for clarification, this is not like the hall pass that Doug tries to keep getting.
Right?
What?
This is not.
This is a whole different thing, type of pass.
So a different type of pass.
If you love Central Park, we'll buy you an annual pass to be able to walk into Central Park.
Yes, to walk into Central Park. Like you buy one every year, Doug, from that guy in the corner.
Yeah, he gives me a great deal. Yeah, it works out to be like $5 a day, and I can go to Central Park as much as I want.
It's incredible how that works.
Yeah.
Oh, gee, I'm not going to tell him. Maybe, I don't know. But when it comes to parks, here's the way this works. This is around our newsletter, the 201, which we're so proud of. And we think people should have the ability to become educated about their money. And we've always had this community around us that needs help. And if you know somebody that needs help and you already get the 201, we will give you 3 entries into this giveaway, which goes till next Monday. That is Monday, June 3rd at midnight Central Time. So through next Monday, introduce somebody to the 201. Inside your 201 newsletter, you have a code. Everybody has their own code inside the 201 newsletter. So if you get this, you know what I'm talking about. Use your specific code. We will see that. We will enter you 3 times. And you know what? The person you introduce, or if you don't get the 201 yet, you want to give it a try. It's always free to unsubscribe. It's always free to subscribe. We're going to give that person or yourself, if you don't get the 201, 1. So let's say you don't get the 201. You get it yourself. That's 1. You get this next issue. You love it. You send it to 3 friends. You just gave yourself 10 entries into this, but one lucky stacker is going to take home a summer of fun on the Stacky Benjamin Show. And we're super happy to do that. StackyBenjamins.com/park, Doug, is where people go. StackyBenjamins.com/park. So
sweet.
Get in. Yes. What else we got?
OG saw an amazing movie on an airplane. I want to hear about that. All I know is that he was pretty excited about it.
I'm pretty excited about it. Indeed. This is right up my alley. So this movie has Liam Hemsworth and
Dreamy.
Russell, and yes,
Can't get enough of that.
And Russell Crowe.
I can get enough of that.
You'll hear him.
Young Russell Crowe or today Russell Crowe?
Today Russell Crowe. Definitely not Gladiator Russell Crowe.
Today Russell Crowe needs to put the fork down.
As I told Doug earlier, this is fat Russell Crowe, but he is
PHAT though.
Yeah, this is pretty great. This is a movie I saw. I think it's available on Amazon already, called Land of Bad.
We're going after a CIA asset that's been captured.
Is this your first mission in theater, J-Tech? Second. Do me a favor. Keep up. The last thing we need in this op is have to save your ass.
The hell are these guys? Local militia.
Yo, hand over in 5.
I'm ready. I have your eyes in the sky and the bringer of doom.
Subtle. I got movement.
We got a situation. RPG 12 o'clock. Incoming!
Weapons away.
Reaper, you there? Reaper.
We're here, Playboy. You gotta get your ass on the move, son.
Go on, soldier.
So this movie is clearly a click, click, boom type of
romantic
movie.
comedy. You're about to say romantic comedy?
It's a rom-com. Russell Crowe is a drone operator. He's clearly the most senior guy there, despite the fact that he's doing, kind of grunt work. No, I mean like not in the movie, but
what I
also
love about it is they put the out of shape old action star in a role where he doesn't have to move.
yeah, I mean,
sitting with a joystick.
Is he eating pizza with one hand?
he plays a really good role because there's a lot of power dynamics. He should have been in charge of all this, but it's clear that there's some drama in his background of why he's still a lowly captain and not, a colonel, type deal. Why is he not in charge of this? And so there's some power dynamics there. And obviously, shoot 'em up movie. Things go haywire kind of early on, and this drone operator and this one surviving person from this thing have to kind of navigate getting out of there unharmed. And right when you think that he's about to get out of there unharmed, he is not going to be out of there. So there's a little plot twist midway through, which is kind of
takes his slice of pie.
Yes, it's very cool. This is a great popcorn movie. This is a great loud theater movie. I watched it for the first time on the airplane. Kind of sucks because you got, AirPods or something, so you don't get the full spatial 3D audio that you could at the theater. But this is a fun movie. This is just like Roadhouse, like really fun movie.
Have you seen the new Roadhouse?
Yes. Do we not talk about it?
I don't think we
did. Oh, we didn't? I thought we did.
Oh my gosh. That was also awesome. Very, very, very good. Like very witty, funny.
So let me ask you this. So
yes, you should watch
I know somebody who lives very close to me who's never seen the first Roadhouse. Do they need to watch the first Roadhouse before they watch the new Jake Gyllenhaal version?
No.
Okay.
It's every bit as corny. It's every bit as Joe's favorite word, campy. It's a campy movie. So transitioning now to Roadhouse, Jake Gyllenhaal and Colin McGregor are the main stars in this movie. And if you ever needed some motivation to get your ass in the gym, watch these two guys with their shirts off, and you're like, "Yep, I need to get to the gym right now to work out."
And does one of them say, "Be nice, be nice"?
I'm not sure. I don't know why.
That was one of the big things when oh my God, why did I just draw a blank on Patrick Swayze when he was training bouncers near the beginning of the movie? He just kept telling them, "I want you to be nice."
God, it's like we tell OG at the beginning of every show.
He never listens.
Be nice.
Yeah, I don't remember that, but Jake Gyllenhaal's character in that movie is very funny. He has a lot of one-liners that are super comical, and he just kicks everybody's butt, so it's kind of fun.
Let's talk about something else around Be Nice. I saw a video yesterday, OG, of your daughter playing softball, and she looks like she has some anger issues when she handles the bat. That woman can wallop a softball.
Yeah, right into the face of the opponent.
That was
hit her right in the chest. It didn't hit her in the face. It hit her right in the chest.
In the chest. I felt bad for everybody there. I was like, oop.
Well, what I loved about that at bat, I saw the same video, and first pitch comes in, it's high, but this girl's in attack mode and she wants to hit the ball.
Yeah, they only get 6 pitches, so there is no like strikes and balls. It's like you get 6, you need to swing on every pitch, wherever it is.
And can you get 4 or 5 strikes and then finally you can get a hit on your 6th pitch?
Yeah, you get 6 pitches until you get on base.
Okay, so it doesn't really matter that. Okay, got it. Anyway, what I liked was A, she was in attack mode, and B, as soon as she realized she missed it, she immediately went back into her stance and she's like, okay, bring it. Bring it.
No, you could see her double down, Doug.
Yeah.
She was doubling down.
She was anxious. And then I saw another video of her fielding at first base. Was it? Was that
I thought it was wild though, Doug. Hold on. I thought it was wild though, after she missed that first pitch, that she like dug into her wallet and then placed 3-1 odds that she'd hit the next one. Like that seemed a little too close to what Dad does. I thought it was weird. I also found it weird that the umpire took the money. That was strange.
She doesn't take after her dad as it relates to athletic ability. That's for sure.
Yeah. And then in the video where I think she was playing first, she was playing a base.
Yeah, first base.
Yeah. And she went to tag out the runner, just knowing her personality and just seeing her body positioning and her attitude. I was entirely ready for her to just drop a shoulder and
just body check the runner.
Just level that little girl who was running to first base. I wouldn't have been surprised. In fact, I was disappointed when it didn't happen.
OG's showing her Ty Cobb videos all the time. OG's yelling from the stands. I said, spikes up! Spikes up!
I don't know what that's from, but that sounds funny.
Ty Cobb was notorious for sliding into a base with his
sharp spikes,
metal, and he would sharpen his spikes. He would take a metal file and sharpen his spikes, and then he would go into the second baseman with the spikes up just to
make sure the second baseman would not get in the way because they knew that he was coming.
Not the nicest guy in the world.
Yes.
Not that your daughter's anything like that.
Not so far. Although we did have to tell her she didn't need to cover the overthrow on third base from first base. She's very, very aggressive in terms of like thinking like I need to cover everything just in case.
Yes.
And so like after the ball was hit into the center field, she ran from first base to back up the third base.
She's not far off though, because once you know it's an extra base hit, your first baseman has no responsibility other than to back somebody up. So if there's a runner on second and it's an extra base hit, she needs to get her little butt back behind home plate to back up the catcher because there may be a play at home. So I like her thinking.
Yeah.
I thought it was weird, OG, when she threw the ball from first base to third base and then went to back up her own throw.
Yeah. No, didn't do that. But she didn't run on an angle from first to third. She ran the bases to get there. Okay. So we got some things to work on.
She's a rule follower.
Yeah.
She's following the runner around the bases.
That's exactly what was happening. Someone's going to throw it near me and I might get lucky and grab it and tag you out on the run. That would be epic. So
that's fabulous.
Lots of fun stuff going on around here. Movies and softball. You guys need to see both of these. And I saw Blue Angels in the IMAX theater. It's not an IMAX anymore.
Oh, you did?
Wow. So it was just a week and pretty good, doable without IMAX. So if you didn't catch it IMAX, you don't have to just grab it on Netflix or Amazon. I think it's on Amazon.
Go watch it.
Watch on Amazon.
You know what the most fun is though, OG?
What's that?
Asking Doug what our takeaways are.
Oh, yes.
Wow. You need a hobby if that's the most fun thing you got going on today. But anyway, I'll tell you anyways. First, take some advice from our headline. While 8% might look like a great deal, until you know how you can actually lose out, it isn't worth pursuing. And in this deal, there are plenty of ways to lose. Second, I think that's just enough takeaway for one day. But what's the biggest to do? Never tell Joe's mom she looks like a female Danny Kaye. Apparently, she sees herself as more of a Rosemary Clooney. Yeah, keep wishing on that star, Ma. Fine by me as long as Joe doesn't go thinking he's George Clooney.
Ooh, hey.
This show is the property of SB Podcasts, LLC, copyright 2024, and is created by Joe Salsihai. Our producer is Karen Repine. Karen and Joe get help from a few of our neighborhood friends. You'll find out about our awesome team at stackingbenjamins.com, along with the show notes and how you can find us on YouTube and all the usual social media spots. Come say hello. Oh yeah, and before I go, not only should you not take advice from these nerds, don't take advice from people you don't know. This show is for entertainment purposes only. Before making any financial decisions, speak with a real financial advisor. I'm Joe's mom's neighbor, Doug, and we'll see you next time back here at the Stacking Benjamin Show.